Hello dear viewers, how are you? I'm fine because I just finished testing this build. It's an archer supporter build designed to deliver healing and buffs through some very strange means like shooting healing arrows at people. It's a master of stealth, highly resistant to magic and very strategic about combat. By that I mean you will rely heavily on alchemy here. Don't think you can pull off this master alchemist without plenty of preparation and an inventory full of strange potions and poisons. You will also need a well-equipped follower and maybe Miko or some down-guard guard. So this build isn't about hacking and slashing willy-nilly. It's not my usual OP routine. Consider yourself warned. That being said, we will use some mods to make the experience smoother and more interesting. First, in rare circumstances, when you need to get your hands dirty with some direct violence, you should consider becoming a werewolf or a werebear ASAP. We will use Moonlight Tales for that. Then we will need a few enchantments from the Summermyst mod. Everything is better with a bit of Summermyst, of course. This time we need it mainly for the healing on hit enchantment we will place on our wooden sword and maybe our low damage bow. Any mod allowing you to craft practice arrows and wooden swords will be a nice topping of this list. A lot of power and fun with this one comes from combos and alchemy recipes, so I will try to explain them in detail. So to save us all some time, I will also try to make the skills section as short as possible. Okay, enough of the introductions, let's get to the backstory. Your childhood and the Reach was mostly peaceful. From time to time, I've heard a rumor about a forsworn attack, but your village was spared most of the trouble. As a son of a Reachman and a Nord, you showed some inclinations towards combat as well as alchemy and magic since your earliest days. Your father had given you a wooden sword for your 8th birthday. It was your favorite toy since then. Life was peaceful, until one day, without a word of warning, everything around you was burning. The Forsworn attacked and pillaged your village. Your parents were slain in the attack. You were too young and afraid to defend them or yourself. Your heart was crushed, your mind shattered from the unexpected trauma. You ran away and kept running until you found yourself in a different hold. You stopped outside a cave that looked like it had been inhabited by some warlocks at some point, but abandoned later. You found food, warm beds, and alchemy tables inside. You knew in an instant that cave would become your new home for months, or maybe even years to come. How did you survive these years of loneliness? With your thoughts always foggy and your heart always broken. Only with patience and perseverance. You gathered edible plants from the woods, you learned alchemy through trial and errors, oftentimes testing your concoctions on yourself. You found a bow in the cave and slowly learned how to hunt for food and furs. It's a miracle you survived on your own like that. And now you're a grown man. And it's time to leave your cave, meet new people, and make some new friends. Your life has only just started. The attribute spread for our feral child looks like this. You will use cheap restoration spells only and boost your magicka with potions if needed, so the blue bar can remain untouched. Stamina could have been a little higher to use our archery zoom more often, but we will offset the low stamina value with high stamina regeneration from that sweet light armor perk and Predator's Grace effect. High health makes our mediocre armor rating much less of a problem. For our standing stone, we should use the Lord Stone, so it combines nicely with our Ratio Magicka resistance. It is important against mages as we won't have many enchantment slots to place elemental resistance in. Going with the Breton as your race is highly advisable, however a wood elf would also fit the themes of the build and allow for an early game animal friendship, which we will try to achieve through companions, animal companions that is, and the animal allegiance shout anyway. The list of skills looks rather long, but for most of them you won't need to invest too many perk points. One skill you should perk almost completely is of course Alchemy. Take every perk there excluding Purity. It's actually vital that you never unlock Purity because you will need poisons with beneficial effects. And this will allow for that unique supportive technique of applying beneficial poisons to a low damage bow enchanted with Summermyst's heal enchantment. You can use the practice arrows for that to make sure your damage output is laughably low. Now you can start shooting your friends to heal hundreds of HP and buff them with a single shot. More of that in the combos section. We want Snake Blood, we want Experimenter, we even want Green Thumb, everything to make the production of potions easier and more reliable. Snake Blood, with our go-to armor piece, the Savior's Hide, will grant us complete poison immunity. We know how to deal with dangerous environment, don't we? And of course, you can also consider acquiring the Cinderian Serpent special ability that you can get through the quest, requiring you to gather the red Nirnroot. In Sneak, take all the perks to the left, but the Shadow Warrior. Don't bother with the sneak attack perks, it's not what we will use the skill for. We only need it to approach enemies silently and start most combats on our terms. Silent Roll will be helpful at times for a swift retreat behind your tanky follower. Archery will be frequently used but very lightly perked. You just take all the ranks of Overdraw, Eagle Eye and both ranks of Steady Hand. Steady Hand will actually be of utmost importance because you will often find yourself in a situation where a precise shot in the heat of battle will save your companion or yourself from a violent death. In a crowded combat, this perk makes it much easier to choose your targets precisely. Restoration will be used mostly for healing our followers, but you yourself can have some use for it too. Take the perks up to Adept and then the Regeneration perk. The latter, combined with the Amplify Restoration enchantment, will make the cheap restoration spells viable all the way to the late game. Cost effective, eh? Then we have the Light Armor skill, where we will take 5 ranks of Agile Defender, Custom Fit Unhindered and Wind Walker. It's a good skill to max out early if you wish to optimize this build, and the Wind Walker offsets our low stamina value quite well. And then we have Enchanting, which you learned through trial and error in that abandoned Warlock hideout. No extra effect for you this time. You are not the master of this skill, and you never will be. You only need 5 ranks of the Enchanter perk, Insightful Enchanter and Corpus Enchanter. This will improve our key enchantments without forcing us to spend too many perk points. And that's that for the skills. Let's browse through the unique items and enchantments. Most of the items are chosen for the looks and styles. It's possible to use your item slots more effectively, but meh. You are all about potions and poisons anyway. Well, the Zephyr is actually very effective for the combat style, as the firing speed increase it bestows will make the entire playstyle much smoother. a good item to obtain early for this character. You could also keep a secondary healing bow, a simple unimproved longbow for example. Then we will cavort with the Lord of the Hunt, here seeing himself to get the fabled Savior's hide. Not the best piece of armor in the game, but it fits, and it makes us resistant to poisons, which suits this character very well. For our headgear we will use crosses, as it is a light armor piece with fortify archery and alchemy. We could go for something else, but it just looks cool this way, alright? You are a little bit antisocial from all this isolation. It just makes you feel more confident when you hide your face. You may as well use the wooden mask in the early game, it doesn't matter. Some boots with fortified stamina or Predator's Grace will be mighty helpful with your stamina management, making it easier to use your Eagle Eye and Steady Hand perks. It is available at any level in a fixed location. You should grab it early on if you can. Guide in the description. Then we will need the following enchantments. A nice selection of wooden swords will be key to all our strange techniques. It is important that the healing sword has the lowest damage possible. The drain armor and the disease damage enchantments could be placed on something else, but why exactly? It's not like you have any perks in one hand, and anyway, you like your wooden swords and you will never be able to deal any proper damage in close combat. They serve the purpose of stacking ongoing damage on those pesky bandits and giants, making them much weaker in the fight with your followers. You should keep them poisoned if you can at all times. If you poison and weaken them in this way, why not add the marks for death shout right after you're detected? Also, you will need slow time and animal allegiance. This small selection of shouts will enhance the playstyle greatly. We will extend the slow time duration with fortify alteration potions, and use animal allegiance out in the open to get the wildlife to protect us. Well, we can also use it in the dungeons, of course, but there's just much more opportunities to use it outdoors. Mammoths. Let's go through the most frequently used concoctions now. First, a few simple buffs for your personal use. These 3 buffs here will be used at all times, well, when available, that is. Giant's Toe and Spriggan subs may not be that easy to come by. Fortify Alteration will be useful whenever you need the slow time shout, which is quite often, as the shout opens up some very useful combos for this build. Fortify Health should be always at hand, and even without a Giant's Toe you should be able to make it from some more common ingredients. It just lasts for longer with the Giant's Toe. And then we will need some more complex poisons against our enemies. You can use all of them at your leisure, of course. However, the one I called Warrior's Bane is of course best used against fighters like tough bandit bosses. They will spend their stamina quickly, having none left to use for power attacks. They will be too slow to catch you, and your follower will be able to use spells or enchanted weapons more efficiently against them. The sudden death should be used to quickly incapacitate mages and archers, especially when confronting some overwhelming numbers of enemies. And then finally we have the strange beneficial poison, which we will use on our low damage healing bow or a healing sword to buff and restore our allies. Put the poison on your healing sword to save your follower from a danger and restore them from near 0 HP to full again. Your Amplify Restoration enchantment will increase the restore health and fortify health values of this concoction and also empower our healing enchantment. This means your follower will never be stopped. Remember that to be safe with this technique you should use an essential follower, otherwise you may still kill your friend accidentally. I use the extensible follower framework to make sure that both Belrand and Miko are essential. It is definitely the time to speak of some special abilities, aka combos, this build uses most frequently. To pull off my personal favorite, you will need to chuck the Fortify Alteration Potion first, shout slow time, and then run through the enemy lines, delivering swift strikes with your poisoned enchanted wooden swords. At the end of all that, your enemies will suffer major armor rating loss, 2 types of ongoing damage, and will take some poison damage on hit. You can now relocate behind your friends and support them with archery. If you wish to be more engaged in combat, you can open up with a slow time shout and use some powerful poisons on your Zephyr. Using this combo, you can easily turn the tide of the battle in your favor. It's a standard combat archer combo of a fast bow and slow time, except this time we enhance it with alchemy. You can have plenty of paralyzed poisons, you can reapply them as needed during the slow time effect to put down as many foes as possible. And then your friends will do the rest. Of course, you can pick one paralyzed enemy and torment them with more poisons and disease damage. Vile. There is, of course, plenty more a master alchemist like this one can pull off. You can always try to just buff your followers and use the beast form, for example. You can fortify your sneak skill so that you become almost undetectable and then take them down with ranged sneak attacks. I know you don't have the perks, but who needs perks where there is poisons? So, here we have it. What a strange build. Very satisfying and amusing though. As I said, it may not be for everyone. The amount of preparations required to be an amazing supporter and archer can be discouraging at start. However, if you have the patience or the guts, you may end up with one of the weirdest and most fun Skyrim experiences ever. Hope you will enjoy it. Right. Next time I will make a simple sword and board guy. Tired of the alchemy research BS. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, alright? Make sure to press the buttons all the way around, like the bell button for instance, and come back for more Skyrim builds later. We will see each other again. Bye bye!